Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel That Teacher Life. In our previous video, we saw what are fractions, we learned how to define numerator and denominator, and we were also able to identify the fraction representing the shaded region. In today's lesson, we are going to discuss about the different types of fractions, namely equivalent fractions, like and unlike fractions, proper and improper fractions, and mixed fractions. I hope you all are feeling excited to learn something new today. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first up, we have equivalent fractions. But before I jump into the definition of equivalent fractions, let me give you an example. Here I have a full sheet of paper which can be denoted mathematically by the whole number 1. Now let me fold the sheet of paper exactly in the middle and let me tear it into two equal parts. Out of two parts, if I shade one part, then the fraction representing the shaded region would be 1 by 2 or 1/2. But if I divide the same sheet of paper into 4 equal parts, and if I shade 2 parts out of 4 parts, then the fraction would be 2 by 4 or 2/4. Now you can clearly observe that the two fractions are representing the same part of the whole. Therefore, 1 by 2 and 2 by 4 can be called as equivalent fractions even though they have different numerators and denominators. So children, can you now try to define what are equivalent fractions? Yes, you're absolutely right. Two or more fractions representing the same part of a whole are called as equivalent fractions. There are two ways through which you can obtain equivalent fractions of any given fraction. One is the multiplication strategy and the other is the division strategy. Let us see how to use these strategies to obtain equivalent fractions of 81 by 108. But children, we must ensure that we are multiplying or dividing both numerator and denominator by the same number. For example, if I choose to multiply the numerator by 2, then the denominator should also be multiplied by 2. So we have 81 into 2, that is 162, and 108 into 2 is equal to 216. Therefore, 162 by 216 is equivalent to 81 by 108. Now, if I choose to divide the numerator by 3, then the denominator should also be divided by 3. So we have 81 divided by 3 is equal to 27 and 108 divided by 3 is equal to 36. Therefore, 27 by 36 is also equivalent to 81 by 108. Next, let us see what are like and unlike fractions. Two or more fractions having the same denominator are called as like fractions. For example, 4 by 9, 1 by 9, 6 by 9 and 8 by 9 are all like fractions. Now, you might be able to guess what are unlike fractions, right? Yes, unlike fractions are fractions having different denominators. So, can you try to identify unlike fractions from the given set? Well done, kids! All the fractions in option B, that is 4 by 51, 1 by 9, 6 by 32 and 8 by 13 are unlike fractions because they have different denominators. Now let us explore proper and improper fractions. Children, carefully observe the fractions displayed on the screen and tell me what do you find in common between them? Yes, They all have the same denominator, so they can be classified as like fractions. But can you also observe that the numerators of these fractions are smaller than the denominators? So each of these fractions can be also called as proper fraction. Any fraction in which the numerator is smaller than the denominator is called as a proper fraction. Now let us try to represent these fractions. First, let us take a full sheet of paper and then divide it into 4 equal parts because the denominator of each fraction is 4. If I shade one part out of 4 parts, we have 1 by 4. If I shade 2 parts out of 4 parts, we have 2 by 4. And if I shade 3 parts out of 4 parts, we get 3 by 4. Now, by looking at the shaded regions, we can conclude that the value of each of these fractions is less than 1. So, a proper fraction always lies in between 0 and 1 on the number line. By now, I'm sure all of you are able to guess what are improper fractions, right? Yes, any fraction in which the numerator is equal to or greater than the denominator is called as an improper fraction. Now let us see how we can obtain improper fractions. Let me take a full sheet of paper and then divide it into 4 equal parts. If I shade 3 parts out of 4 parts, then the fraction would be 3 by 4 or 3/4, which is a proper fraction. But what would happen if I shade all the 4 parts? Yes, the fraction would be 4 by 4, and we can clearly observe that the numerator is equal to the denominator. So it is an improper fraction. But what is the value of this improper fraction? Yes, it would be equal to 1 because we are getting back the full sheet of paper when we shade all the 4 parts. Now, you might be wondering how to obtain an improper fraction in which the numerator is greater than the denominator, right? We have already shaded all the 4 parts and we have got the fraction as 4 by 4. So, can you think of a way through which we can obtain 5 by 4 as the fraction? Yes, we must take 2 full sheets of paper and then divide each sheet of paper into 4 equal parts. In the first sheet, if I shade all the 4 parts, then we get 4 by 4 as the fraction. And in the second sheet, if I shade one part out of 4 parts, then we get 1 by 4 as the fraction. Now, if I combine these two fractions, then I obtain an improper fraction, which is 5 by 4. And we can clearly observe that the value of this improper fraction is greater than 1. Now, these types of improper fractions in which the numerator is greater than the denominator can be converted to mixed fractions. But what are mixed fractions, children? Mixed fractions are fractions which contain a whole number part as well as a fractional part. Let us take up the same example again and let us see how to express 5 by 4 as a mixed fraction. So we have 2 full sheets of paper. Each of them is divided into 4 equal parts. In the first sheet, if we shade all the 4 parts, then the fraction would be 4 by 4. But we know that the value of this fraction is equal to 1, which is a whole number. Now, in the second sheet, we are shading one part out of 4 parts. So the fraction is 1 by 4. Now, if I combine these two, we get 5 by 4 or 1 by 4. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Kindly like, share and subscribe to my channel for more such content. Hit that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is uploaded. Thank you.